Thank you, David, very much. I love what the MJBA is doing. They're a very innocent space, and when I say that, I mean they're working with ancillary businesses, business to business, that is coming into its own. It's not a black market, it's not a gray market. These are real businesses with real investment in a real industry, as Ted was saying. And I just again want to thank David and the MJBA for being part of the evolution of this revolution, as you call it. So as David said, NORML's been around about 50 years. I'm the state affiliate director. I'm just going to try to jump into this, take off a little bit from where Ted's left off. Where is this going to go in the short term in Washington and in the long term nationally? That's something NORML thinks about a lot. That's something we talk about at our quarterly board meetings a lot. Around the nation with other states that haven't legalized yet. When we think of legalization locally, there are bans and moratoriums all over the state. And this job fair is unique to Spokane because we've legalized marijuana in Spokane County in the fact that we've allowed it to happen here. They've been very good about bringing the businesses into the county. We're home to 20% of all of the growers in the state. There's 39 counties in this state. This one county has 20%. That equals about 80 growers right now, and they're of all sizes, indoor and outdoor. Now, what is going to keep these cities from banning marijuana? Well, right now, they're operating under the opinion of the Attorney General, who suggested that since the law didn't disallow explicitly for cities and municipalities to ban marijuana, that they could have that option if they wanted to. Now, contrast that with Colorado's law, where they actually put a line item in that says you can opt out of this. The ACLU is of the opinion the Attorney General is wrong. There's a case headed to the Washington Supreme Court as we speak. It's been tried in Fife. It's going through the appellates, and there are a few other stores that have adjoined it, stores that have been shut down by bans and moratorium. And the opinion of the ACLU, who authored the law, is that in the end, the Washington Supreme Court is going to say state preemption rules, the law is the law. You can have your zoning, but you can't disallow a legal business. Now, Spokane got sued for trying to keep adult stores out. They didn't even want to try to keep marijuana out when there was millions of dollars staring them at the face, ready to bring the lawyers in and start suing them. They know better. The other cities and counties are now learning what it's like to go through a lawsuit, and by the time this case gets tested in the Supreme Court, maybe by the end of this year, there's going to be an entirely different landscape in the state of Washington, and there'll be stores opened everywhere. Fingers crossed, the ACLU is right. Now, by next July, based on legislation that just happened, there's going to be the wrapping up of the medical industry as a regulated business. And basically what that means, if you're growing for medical or you're selling at a storefront, you just really have to apply for an LCB license. Now, if they open up enough access points on top of the 350 stores that are already allowed, we're looking at over 500 stores statewide. I think everybody's going to have the access they want at the price that's right. I've talked to some guys in the black market who their prices have fallen. They're just like, don't legalize home grow, dude. And I'm like, we're going to legalize home grow. And then it's going to put them out of business. That's not because I want my buddy to not make money. It's just because I think that adults should have the right to grow marijuana in the privacy of their own home. And that's really what NORML's role has been here in the state of Washington specifically. Our mission statement is to legalize or decriminalize or regulate the legal use of marijuana by adults so that you're no longer subject to prosecution or persecution. When the pizza boy comes and sees a bong on the table, he can't call the cops anymore in the state of Washington. He'd probably he can legally, well, I don't want to say that. What's great about it then is we've got adults that can smoke marijuana. That mission is accomplished. We also have frosting on the cake. We have an industry. So once legalization occurs in the state of Washington, New Approach Washington, then we did New Approach Oregon, we're going to do New Approach California in 2016. Once legalization occurs, it opens up the opportunity not just for civil liberties to be enjoyed by people, but it opens up the opportunity for industry to be employed as well. How the industry is going to roll out across the nation is going to be a patchwork. How legalization is going to roll out across the nation is going to be a patchwork. But I believe after federal laws are reformed, it'll go much quicker. And the numbers I'm hearing are about 10 years from now. And that's, fingers crossed, with a Democratic president. So my outlook for state legalization is optimistic. I believe the ACLU when they say the Supreme Court will rule against moratoriums and bans. And I believe that the price will ultimately be low enough that the consumers are all going to be happy, medical and recreational alike. There's going to be a lot of high quality products out there. It's just going to be a tough road to hoe because we've never done this before. A lot of people are going to lose money. Some people are going to make some. The only people making money in the industry right now is the state of Washington, because the taxes are 25% of every dollar made every month paid to the LCB. It's a lot of money going out there, and we get no federal tax deductions at all. So it's tough that way. But as legalization rolls out in California in 2016, that's going to change everything. I was in DC a few weeks ago talking to the congressman, and they're like, yeah, Washington, Colorado, that's cool. Oregon and Alaska, not enough people, not enough electoral votes, not enough power. But when California grows, they're the 8th or 9th largest economy in the world. California is. When California goes, when the banks start to lobby Congress, right now the industry is lobbying Congress to change banking rules. The banks say, sure, we'll take the money, but these little policy shifts aren't enough. We need laws. As soon as California goes, the banks are going to start lobbying Congress to take this money. Everything's going to change after the 2016 election. It almost doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat at that point. So that's my outlook on legalization after California goes, is that we're going to see a huge floodgate open up. And it's not just going to be California that has ballot initiatives and or legislation. The issue with California now is, one of the issues they're trying to resolve in California now is to regulate their marijuana for the medical community prior to a legalization initiative. Because like here in Washington, 502 can only change one law at a time. 502, in order to get adult personal use for everyone, could only change, it's RCW 6950. It could only change our Controlled Substance Act. It couldn't change the medical marijuana law, which is a different line, 6951A. It was not addressed. It legally could not have been addressed. What we've seen since we got a regulated system in place is the legislature and the revenue collectors, the LCB, suggest that we need to regulate medical storefronts and medical commercial gardens. And that's what we're seeing in the legislature. It wasn't a concerted effort to try to shut medical down by the people who legalized pot. And I can say that sincerely. We were afraid that there would be some legislative blowback. We weren't sure if it was going to come directly at 502 or it was going to come through the medical. It seemed pretty obvious to everyone, once there's a regulated system in place, that you can't have an unregulated market next to it. And now, since it's been legalized, marijuana is looked at as a market. That doesn't mean that the people involved in changing the laws, whether they're legislators or regulators or legalizers or voters, that doesn't mean they're not interested in the compassion that goes along with helping people that need their marijuana. It just means that there might be some road bumps and hiccups to get us to a better place than we've been ever in the history of the United States, or the world for that matter. And the whole world is changing marijuana laws. Last week, Uruguay and Jamaica had representatives here in town. Colorado's Enforcement Division was up here. Alaska's Department of Health, who's going to regulate their marijuana, was here. And we took tours around some outdoor farms here in Spokane because it's really the only place you can grow outdoors in the world right now. And it was really amazing to see their eyes and their faces light up. And we've been touring stores and indoor grows all day. And when we walked into the outdoor farm with the big plants and the sunshine and the organic worm castings, they were just overjoyed. So my hope is that, you know, Monsanto won't take it over. But in the end, the states that legalize it first, like Washington and California, are going to be the ones that are making the marijuana. I mean, not every state has a Budweiser or a tobacco farm now. You're going to see big farms, probably Philip Morris's in California. Ultimately, 10, 20 years, whenever it goes legal at the federal level and the stock market gets involved, like Ted said. But we're also going to have the boutique pot and wine and liquors like Washington State has done a fairly good job of protecting its wineries and its distilleries and its microbrews. You can buy those in Texas or California, and they'll compete right against the Budweisers and the Gallos, and I think they're going to protect our pot industry. And to be fair, by the time Idaho finally legalizes it, they're not going to have commercial grows. They won't need them. The whole nation will already have enough canopy space between those states that come online first. So we're really in a lucky position. We're in the pole position. Colorado claims to have legalized it first, but let me tell you, if it wasn't for time zones, we beat them by 20 minutes. They did it at 40 after 8, we did it at 20 after 8, we called it. So if it hadn't been for that hour or two delay, we technically would have gotten all the glory. But that's all right, we'll take second place. We've already collected more tax revenue than them, which is a great sales tool to use when you're trying to present this to government. It's not so great for the people who are trying to make any money or, you know, having to pay those high taxes at the counter. But the hope in California is that we can regulate their medical markets so that we don't have what happened here, and that's after the legalization initiative comes through, it wipes out all the medical in California as people know it. Because you can walk down Venice Beach and they will throw you medical cards, and then they'll sell you pot right out of their dispensary van. I mean, it's just like it's wild west down there. More Wild West than the U District in Seattle with its 200 unlicensed dispensaries. Or they're licensed storefronts, but to be fair, they're not regulated marijuana stores. And as someone who loves marijuana, and I smoke it regularly, you know, I'm excited by the fact that I can go to a store and choose a brand, a label that's always going to be the same pot every time. When I used to call my guy, what do you got? What do you got? I got, oh, it's great. It's always great. And it never was always great. You know what I mean? And so it gives me the choice of having that consistency, as well as knowing that if there's a problem with mold or bugs or seeds in that, I got a phone number I can call, and I've got a license number I can track, and I can make sure that guy stops selling bad bud before you didn't even know who the guy was your guy was talking to, right? And he probably didn't know him either. So, you know, while it hadn't been for, you know, the black market, shit, none of us would be here. We wouldn't have the great strains we have if it hadn't been for guys like Mark Emery and, you know, selling seeds to everybody. Without the unregulated market, we wouldn't have the hope of a future. I mean, really what we've got is an idea that has taken off, and it's going to continue to take off. We hope that California gets its right now there is legislation moving through. It really looks like it's going to pass that will regulate the medical industry prior to legalization in 2016. And what that would have meant for Washington State was if a few years ago Gregoire would have allowed the medical industry to be regulated at that time, we would have looked a lot more like Colorado. It would have been a very smooth transition. All the licensed and regulated medical stores would have got first pick, but there was no licensing and there was no regulation. And so they opened it up to everyone for equal opportunity. With the exception of the sweepstakes, not everyone could get a license that applied. Unlike growing, everyone who could get a license could grow. They only opened up 350 stores, but again, hopefully that'll be 500 or 1,000. They needed to start small. And if you call 500 people showing up, the first event of a job fair, the first of its kind in an average American city, the second of its kind in the state, or third. I think there's been 2 in Seattle. You know, this isn't that small, right? I mean, we're talking about a microcosm at the national scale, but look at us. Look what's happening locally in Washington State. There's an event every week by a different lobby group that will pay you. You pay them, and they'll tell you what you want to hear. There's groups like the MJBA, which are honestly business to business out there to facilitate and nurture and promote the industry, which I think are the better events personally. And so we really endorse the MJBA wholeheartedly. We're a national sponsor, thanks to the generosity of Dave allowing us to do that. And we support what he's doing around this state, in Oregon, and New York, and we'll be doing it in California as well. I don't know how much time I have on here, because I can start pulling strings and talking about all kinds of tangents. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions about any specifics in the near future, legislatively or regulatory, I'm in touch with people that I can probably answer some of it on an educatively. We'll try, if that's a word. Yes. So she's asking me about the new laws for medical marijuana. I'm assuming you're talking about patients or stores. Okay. Yeah, so SB 5052 addresses the medical law as a whole, which is RCW 695-1A. It addresses possession limits and plant counts. It has reduced them from 15 to 6 plants, and from 1.5 pounds to, I think, 3 ounces for a patient. And I believe that goes into effect this July. If you want to have a collective garden with up to 10 of your friends, up to 45 plants, you will need to register with the Department of Health in order to have arrest protection. And you will also need to be located a few miles away from the nearest retail store, just to ensure that, you know, because that's an open space that needs the access for your small group of friends. It's going to be much more regulated and closely watched than it is now. You'll have the opportunity to register voluntarily for a medical card, which would give you arrest protection. Now you have affirmative defense. And if you don't want to register for the medical card, then you won't be able to get the medical marijuana at the soon-to-be licensed medical marijuana stores. The stores are going to come online July of 2016, so over a year from now. And then patients who don't grow their own, or don't have a provider, or are not a part of a co-op, will be able to go into the medical stores or a recreation store that has a medical certificate issued by the Department of Health, and they'll be able to talk to you about your specific condition and recommend a specific strain for that specific ailment, much like bud tenders do now in the dispensaries, without a certification or without any real liability for steering you wrong or giving you an unregulated product. Yeah, well, the bud tenders need to have an education. Right now, they don't. They're not allowed to talk medical in the legally regulated stores. The dispensaries, the medical stores, have bud tenders who will talk to you about anything, and you hope they're right on. The Department of Health is going to regulate the certification of bud tenders in the 502, 5052 stores, so that they will be talking. You know, they have to pass a test. They'll know what they're talking about, and you can trust that you can know what they're talking about. So, any other questions? I think we're good. I want to thank you guys for coming. I want to thank Dave and the MJBA again. You guys keep up the faith. I mean, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So thanks again, Dave, and thank you guys.
Thank you, Kevin Oliver. Let's hear it for NORML. Let's hear it again for NORML. If any of you have any questions about NORML, if you want to join, if you have questions about the law, they are over here in a booth. I encourage you all to volunteer, right? Just get involved, share information, show up at these events. Your presence is really important. So Kevin and his wife, Crystal, are here. Say hello, get involved locally. Thank you for that.